Baylor's Sawyer Robertson can sling the football, but can Auburn go blow for blow with Baylor offensively? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for turning us up and turning us on. We'll turn it out on a Monday morning. It's my good friend Caesar Walker here to talk a little Auburn football. On today's show, we're talking about Game 1 versus Baylor. Auburn is getting ready to start fall camp, Caesar, on Wednesday. So it is time to turn our attention to the season that starts August 29th with Baylor traveling out to Waco. And the questions are going to be about offense, which is where I want to start today. Auburn's got to put points up in this game. They've got to put points up on this game. On our Sunday show, we talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to expand this topic with you, my friend. How many points is enough points to, as an Auburn guy, feel like this offense is not going to do what they did last year? They're not going to stall out in normal situations, and they're going to be able to finish off drives and put a normal, what I am coining a normal amount of points on the scoreboard in today's college football to win football games.
Well, I guess a better question is, what is normal? Because Auburn has not been normal offensively in terms of its output, in terms of points. The interesting thing, Mike, is that Auburn in the past two seasons under Hugh Freeze, we've seen them move between the 20s, but for whatever reason, when Auburn gets into the red zone, the deficiencies begin to show. Their inability to be able to score in red zone offense has been to their detriment, and it has cost them a lot of games. You hope that in this year, year 3, that Auburn gets into the red zone and you got weapons, you got big time receivers and people who you can get the ball to. You got running backs. You have a mobile quarterback. Hopefully, Hugh Freeze has his guy who can run the offense. There's a lot of available weapons and skill players to be able to convert in the red zone and start putting points on the board. I think it's time, Mike. And I think for me, when I think about game 1 against Baylor, Baylor averaged 34 points a game last year. I know this is a different team this year, but they still have the returning QB, who I think you said threw for 28 TD tutties and 8 interceptions last year. So the kid's good, and he's someone who I think will be able to move the offense for them. Auburn has. We talked about Auburn being able to win games or be in games if you just score over 20 points. I think you got to bump it up in this case because this is a new year, new season, and you're playing a team that can actually put points on the board as well. Mike, I'm thinking you're going to have to go north of 30 here to put yourself in a position to really pull out a game, a big one on the road. It's going to be tough because it's a road game, but Auburn is going to have to hit the ground running and show that this is a new year. This offense, this is going to be a Hugh Freeze type of offense, a throwback to what Auburn fans was expecting to see when Hugh Freeze first arrived.
I agree with you. Look, Baylor was second in the Big 12 in scoring last year at 34.4 points per game. Texas Tech led the league at 37.6 points per game. So, yeah, I think it's reasonable to think that you're going to have to get north of 30 points in this one to ensure a victory. Now, Auburn's defense was stingy with people on the scoreboard last year. Can they limit them the same way they limited a lot of SEC opponents on the scoreboard last year? So nobody ran away from Auburn offensively. This is something that we've talked about time and time again on this show. When you look at the losses, Auburn can score 28 points. They potentially win 5 games of the 7 that they lost last year. Just 28 points. That's how well they played defensively. Can that carry over? Keldrick Falk was voted first team all preseason all SEC. We expect him to wreak havoc on backfields this year. I think that if the defense holds its billing and Auburn can improve offensively, that we'll see a dub on August 29th.
I'm curious about defense. This is about the offense, Mike, but I'm curious about what we're going to see defensively because we think that Auburn is going to go after the QB, but oftentimes to many Auburn fans, frustration, we've seen Auburn line up with 3 down linemen, right? And sometimes DJ Durkin plays coverage. And so are you playing into a Baylor's strengths when you do that? Or is it to Auburn's advantage to put 4 down linemen send an extra guy and actually go after the QB. Again, as we get closer to this game, it's going to be interesting to see the chess games that DJ Durkin plays to neutralize Baylor's offense. But again, Baylor at home, Mike, when Baylor has struggled offensively or when they've not been able to get close to their average, they were on the road. In Waco, they're pretty relaxed and comfortable. So it's going to be interesting to see how Auburn's defense travels on the road to Waco and if they're able to neutralize them or frustrate them a little bit. We've seen Baylor come down to earth when they played teams that have a sort of a pulse defensively. They struggled against Utah, but that was on the road last year. Utah is known as being a good defensive team.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see going against a team like Auburn, first game of the season. Will Baylor come out firing on all cylinders? And so if Auburn is able to muddy the game up and play, get Baylor to struggle a bit, it takes the pressure off of Auburn offensively. But again, Auburn has to put points on the board because you can't continue to depend on your defense to carry you for 4 quarters and your offense not giving them anything to work with.
I agree with you 100%. Look, if you look at the 5 Baylor losses last year, now they went 8-4 in the regular season, Caesar.
Yeah.
You talked about that Utah loss, 23-12 on the second game of the season. They mustered only 12 points versus the Utes, but they lost 38-31 in overtime to Colorado. They lost 34-28 to BYU the next week, and they lost 43-21 against Iowa State, another team that was a fringe.
That was on the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that BYU loss came at home early in the season. They'll be a very different team this year with Jake Retzlaff moving on. But against LSU, where they put up 31 points against what was a pretty bad LSU defense. But LSU posted 44 on them. I think Garrett Nussmeier is the best returning quarterback in the SEC this year. I've said that repeatedly, but only 31 points versus that LSU defense. I mean,
I know, right?
I'm just saying, if we're using, that is a kind of a litmus test there. I think DJ Durkin's defense definitely can do better than LSU's defense did. But how improved is this Baylor offense going to be? I've got questions. Does Sawyer Robertson take the next step? He was a 3,000-yard passer. It looks like his best game of the season came in that bowl game versus a really bad LSU defense that we talked about a lot. He threw for 445 yards on them, and they only scored 31 points. Yeah. So, Auburn was stingier than that on the scoreboard, and I think that holds true in this one when August 29th gets here.
Yeah, and also I'll be surprised if Auburn gives up that many yards through the air, right? I've seen teams be able to have success throwing against Auburn, but not to the tune of 400+ yards. Baylor is going to have to figure out how to be able to move the ball on the ground as well. We've seen Auburn struggle against teams who not only can throw but also run. You can't be one-dimensional against this Auburn defense. One of the things that I will say, Mike, is what I found to be very frustrating with this Auburn offense at times last year is Auburn would go into games against teams that have clear deficiencies defensively, and you were not able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Auburn has to take advantage of a Baylor team who their secondary has been porous at times. They've been able to get picked on a lot. And again, this is where your wide receivers come into play. This is where Jackson Arnold comes into play. Auburn's going to have to prove, Mike, and we talk about this week after week. We've talked about it over the past few years. Teams have not been intimidated by Auburn's passing attack.
Yeah.
This is a great opportunity for Auburn to go on the road to Waco and begin to change that narrative and make teams believe, okay, we've been hearing about this Auburn team and the talent that they've amassed, right? They have great wide receivers, but can they get the ball to those receivers and get the ball to them in space so that they can punish opposing defenses? Now is the time for you to put that on display and really send a message to the college football world that the days of you putting 8 in the box, loading the box, cheating up, and not respecting the pass is over. at Auburn because Auburn's going to punish you. Case in point, starting with Baylor. So Auburn has to begin to take advantage of the deficiencies of some opposing teams for me to really begin to be confident that this team is turning the corner offensively.
I agree with you. Look, I just want to point out this was an Auburn defense that gave up a mere 213 yards per game through the air. So any quarterback going for 400 something yards seems pretty unconscionable on this Auburn defense, but we'll see. Likewise, on the ground, only 117 yards on the ground given up, Caesar. So look, I mean, when you put that versus Baylor's averages offensively in the Big 12, again, 213 through the air, 117 on the ground for Auburn. They averaged 261 yards through the air and 178 yards on the ground. If you're Auburn, you got to hold them off those averages for sure. So that's got to go backwards. But look, it's as we get closer to the season, it's prediction time. So we're going to take all that word salad and we're going to put some predictions. We're going to put pen to paper, Caesar, and we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in this one right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of the Auburn Express is brought to you by our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's right across the street from the Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to Renfro's Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. This episode of The War Report is brought to you by friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. I want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Golden's Cast Iron. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Also want to thank our friends at setsforsociety.ai. Do you want to get to know yourself a little better? Maybe learn how you work with a team, how your team can work with you. Setsforsociety.ai has custom personality assessments that tell you a little bit more about how you work in a team, how you relate to it, how you think, how your coworkers think. They've got a really unique solution to getting to know yourself and upping that productivity, becoming a better coworker, a better teammate, a better partner. Visit setsforsociety.ai today to get your personality assessment started now. I want to thank them for sponsoring this segment. Let's jump right back in here, Caesar. As I mentioned, it is time for us to say what we think is going to happen when August 29th arrives. And I'm going to go first. They have to break out. Offensively, they have to break out. Hugh Freeze has marked a different tone. We will talk to him for the first time since media days on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Central to hear, look, how disappointed is he going to be if Auburn comes out and they don't look polished offensively from game one? You settled on your quarterback early. You called Jackson Arnold every good name under the sun. They praised him. We're hearing reports of them going easy on him defensively so that he leaves practice with confidence. I'm not sure how much I love that, but this is a 5-star guy. So I just assume he's going to be able to go out there and compete at a high level. If he is your guy, Cam Coleman eats, Eric Singleton eats, Malcolm Simmons eats. We'll see what his status is. And Perry Thompson eats. I think that final score here, 38-21. I think Auburn is able to limit Baylor offensively.
Three score victory.
I like the Tigers in this one, and I like them big. There's going to be a reverse effect with this pass game on the run game, where Cam Coleman and these guys are going to be such a threat that when they hand the ball off, there's going to be big holes to run through. And I see Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb breaking off runs in huge chunks in this one to not only complement the pass game, but to control the football and control the pace of the game. So down the stretch, Auburn is early on, slow down a little bit in the second half offensively, but the defense does the job. 38-21 Tigers. So what I'm calling.
I'm going to go 31-24 Auburn here. Again,
Okay.
I think Auburn creeps above the 31 marker. I have a hard time seeing teams put points up on Auburn that don't really have that great of a defense. We've seen the Georgias, we've seen the Bamas, and we've seen Auburn stay close with those teams, Mike. But those teams also caused Auburn to struggle. And I'm curious to see if this is an interesting matchup because Baylor's defense has been much maligned. Auburn's offense has been much maligned. So to me, this is the matchup here of the game. Can Auburn put points on the board? Can Baylor stop them? Right. And so it's going to be interesting to see that. But I agree with you. Auburn has to break out. This has to be the game that Auburn sends a message to everyone that Auburn has arrived. Auburn is back. And you do that by hanging more than 30 on Baylor on the road because you have struggled to get above 20 several times last year against teams that you probably should have scored more than 20 points on. This is a new year, new team, new direction, a lot of confidence. That confidence has to manifest in points on the board, Mike. I'm going 31-24. Auburn gets it done.
Yeah, look, Baylor is a team that returns 7% of their offensive production from last year. When I say that, I'm saying this is the same Baylor team that they were last year, pretty much. This is a very, very different Auburn team in terms of experience, and the talent is there. Now, one of the things that Hugh Freeze has noted that I want to go back to is that they feel like they didn't have the pieces to run all of the offense that they wanted to run. This year, he feels like he has those pieces. So we should see that offense expand. He's talked about, hey, we haven't run any 10 personnel really since I've been here. It's been tight end heavy because that's where they felt like the talent load was at. It has shifted from tight end to wide receiver. It's shifted away from running back to wide receiver and quarterback. I think that you see them open it up, and we see this look more like a Hugh Freeze offense, which we know from his previous stint in Ole Miss was pretty high scoring at times. Yeah. They lacked that high capability last year. They lacked it the year before. I think they have it this year because you've got Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman has to be a star for Auburn to be successful in 2025. To be, you got the 5th best player in the country. He's from the crib. He's right down the street.
Yeah.
Man, he's got to be a star. We voted him preseason All SEC for a reason.
And Mike, I was curious to see how this staff. It was interesting to me to see at times last year. It just seems like when is he going to get the ball? When are you going to get the ball to Cam Coleman? Now they figured out how to do that as the season went on, and would you believe it? There goes the explosive plays again that Auburn seem to be lacking at times. And so you have to build a game plan that gets him the ball early and often throughout the games to keep him engaged, keep the offense explosive. But also, Mike, when you got teams peeking over there at Cam Coleman because he's getting the ball and he's a feature part of the offense, man, those other receivers are going to kill you, man. They're going to eat in this offense as well, especially if Jackson Arnold is seeing the field like we hope he sees the field in the upcoming season. It's pick your poison against opposing defenses for Auburn. And again, it's time for Auburn's pass offense to begin to strike fear in the minds of defensive coordinators across the country.
Yeah, it wasn't until after the Kentucky game that they really started to force the issue trying to get Cam the ball more. In his first game, only 2 receptions for 62 yards. Second game against Cal, 2 receptions for 53 yards. Third game, Arkansas, 2 receptions for 15 yards. 3 receptions for 82 yards versus Oklahoma. 1 catch versus Missouri. 1. 4 receptions for 24 yards versus Kentucky. 1 catch for 9 yards versus Vanderbilt. You lost that game 17-7, right? And then in the last 3 games, ULM 8 catches for 100 yards. Texas A&M, 7 catches for 128 yards. Bama, 7 catches for 78 yards and a 30-yard TD where he practically mossed the dude. Come on, man.
Yeah.
They didn't start throwing the ball until the last 3 games of the season. And if Jackson Arnold is your guy, I think that they find him early, they find him often. And if it's not him, he's garnering so much attention that somebody else is going to go nuts. These wide receiver core should practically be unguardable. The only way they don't get the ball is if Jackson Arnold is a complete bum or the line can't pass block and there's no time to get the ball to receivers. I don't see either one of those things happening. So should be fun. Closing thoughts here, man. I got 38-21. You got 31-24. You got a touchdown game. You got a sweating game one. I say no sweat. I think Auburn fans are cruising by the midway through the third quarter.
Hey, Mike, we love to see it.
We love to see it indeed. And you know what we also love to see? We love to see you in the comment section showing us some love. Smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. We appreciate everybody for continuing the show. Guys, that's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. If you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.